Okay, welcome to session 3 of Automation and Integration, hosted by Significans Automation. And as ever, we're going to ask you to jump in the chat and just let us know where you're viewing from today, what country you're from, and drop in the chat whether you currently use any in focus or Significans products or services, and our special guests, Accura, as well. Do you use any of their products? Just drop it into the chat. But most importantly, your name and where you're from. So we're delighted to be joined by Trevor C from Accura in the UK today, ever steady host, Significance Automation, and Marc Raad. And we've got the first person in the chat. We've got Kevin from Essex. Thank you, Kevin, for joining us today. Don't be shy, ladies and gentlemen. This is a seminar. We want conversation. We want to encourage your thoughts, your opinions, but keep them respectful. Be polite, but we want to hear your thoughts and ideas throughout the session. And I'm sure some of our distinguished panel will answer any questions you have as soon as they can. We're slightly ahead of schedule. Alan Dixon. Hello, Alan. Yes, lovely to have you on board, Alan. I'm sure you've got plenty to contribute with, especially the in-focus products and services. And it's great to have you here. We appreciate your input and time today. I hear the weather's pretty bad in the UK at the moment, Alan. Do you have any snow? Maybe you can share snow stories with the guys in Canada.
It's mainly flooding today, actually.
Flooding, okay. No snow, just rain, okay. We've got Scott. Good morning from California. Scott, thank you. Thank you for joining us. I'm assuming you've got better weather than the guys in Canada and the UK. Shouldn't assume. Scott says he's excited for this. Good man. Okay, so as you join. Hey, Rob. Sunny Salt Lake City in Utah. Brilliant. Thank you, Rob, for joining us. There's a few more come in. This is also secretly a test to see if you can use the public chat function as well. And so far, it's looking like a big green tick. Thanks, Cindy, for hosting. Yes, Alan, I love that. Okay, brilliant. Mark, hello, Mark. Mark Sarper from California. Brilliant. Good to see you. Okay, I'm going to kick off. We're now at 1 minute over the start time. I'm sure everybody would like to get into the weeds. First and foremost, welcome to session 3. This is a seminar. And like I said at the top of the hour, we want your input. We want everyone to contribute to the conversation. Keep it respectful, but be opinionated. That's absolutely fine. So jump any questions in the chat at any point. We'll try and get to every single question that we can. And if we can't, or if there's something that you'd like to take offline, simply drop your email address into the chat and we'll make sure that one of the panel will follow up afterwards. But generally, these guys are pretty good. They tend to answer most things. And if not, we'll try and bring it into the questions and answer session towards the end. So at the panel today, we've got Trevor C from Accura. We've got Marc Raad from Significans Automation, our host for today's session. I'm just going to let them take over for a couple of seconds and give you a quick introduction. Trevor.
Hi, I'm Trevor Cox, the owner and founder of Accura MIS out of the UK. We provide an integrated CRM, MIS, and web-to-print solution all in one package. We've been going for 37 years. We've got around 600 clients around the world in the UK, North America, Australasia, and so on. And we deal with a lot of SME companies, so we cater for their needs in terms of one complete solution.
Fantastic. And our host, Marc.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you very much. My name is Marc Raad. I'm the founder and owner of Significance Automation. I founded the company back in 2018, and it was really on the context that there's a lot of software coming into our space. And all that software comes with uber complexities, and we wanted to remove those complexities by, one, transcend the budgets of our customer base so that they're provided with a end-to-end schema of automation or integration as per the contracts. So welcome, everyone. Thank you very much for partaking.
And I'm Chris. I'm the founder of Digital Inc. and I am the guest moderator for today's session. And I'm very honoured to be amongst this esteemed panel and a fantastic list of people joining the chat as well. So thank you very much. And let's further ado, let's jump straight in. So Trevor, quite an introduction there. Obviously, you mentioned global business, lots of software solutions as well. Do you want to dive in a little bit deeper into yourself, your background, and then the what Accura does?
Yeah, sure. So as I say, I founded the company 1988, back in the days of green screen and dumb terminals and MS-DOS. And really, we saw at the time a gap in the market where there were high-end systems that were very complex and quite expensive, and then at the other extreme there were very low-end kind of download a CD and install it in those days, and off you go, no training, no real support. And we just felt there was a gap in the middle there where people wanted a fully comprehensive system, but they wanted proper training and proper support. So obviously we've gone through many iterations of the product to get to where we are now. And now we have a complete modular suite. It's what I would call an end-to-end solution. So from web to MIS and production, and also a CRM component for sales and marketing and customer service. It's very scalable. You can run it on premise or in the cloud. We provide on-site training and setup. So it's a very flexible solution. So it's all the fundamentals that every print business needs, whether it's small or large. Everything from calculating your rates so that those are accurate, through to estimating where you can email the quotes to your customers. It will handle all your overs, your ink calculations, different press optimizations, and so on. It also has a tendering feature where you can request quotes from other vendors on work you can't do in-house. Through to production, we then have our own proof workflow where the MIS is responsible for delivery of the proof to the customer and getting approval, right through to dispatch and invoicing. So that's your core fundamentals. And then if you look at the magenta circle, those are all the optional modules that you can add on top of that. So according to your needs, you might decide, well, we definitely want to go with web to print, or scheduling as a priority, or purchasing or shipping integration with couriers, and so on. So the idea is that it's modular and scalable, and you can start as small as you like, and you can grow the system, but never outgrow the system. So coming back to the sort of end-to-end aspect of it, because we have our own web technology, we don't need to use a third-party provider. And therefore, we can do a lot more with the integration than separate systems can. So this chart here indicates the kind of typical one-way single integration, which is front-end driven into the MIS. So people talk about, oh, can you integrate with such and such a web to print, and this MIS talks to that, and so on. Very often what they're actually talking about is an order submission system. So it's just really the focus is on getting the order from the storefront, doing something maybe with artwork or whatever, mapping that data to the MIS, and then the MIS sucking that order in, and from there on the workflow in the MIS remains the same. That's fine and all well and good, but that's really because the web to print systems that are traditionally out there on the market, that's their sole role in life. They don't have all the access to the MIS database that we do. So we came at it from completely the other way around. We came at it from the point of view of, here we have an MIS. It has a vast amount of data, everything from estimating to orders to invoicing to stock. And why not give your customers, the printer's customers, access to that information? So if we look at the next slide, you'll see the contrast in the information flow. So from Accura, from the customer experience, he is both inputting information, order submission, but he's also getting back a vast amount of information. So you've got all of these bidirectional links between the estimate. When you do the estimate, that is pushed out to the portal. When you raise an order, that is pushed out to the portal. So customers can go into our Accura online portal and not just submit artwork or upload a file, that's a given. What they can do is they can manage their entire relationship with you, the printer. Now, that gives you a fantastic edge over other printers that don't have this technology. So for example, they'll be able to sign off on a proof within that same portal. They'll be able to check stock. If you're holding product fulfillment stock for them, they'll be able to get live stock information on that. and pricing. They'll be able to request a quote or get a live price. They can also see their offline orders. So on the day you go live with Accura Online, they'll not only see the orders they've submitted through the portal, but importantly, they'll see the orders that they placed offline through email or telephone or personal contact. So this doesn't replace human interaction. This enhances it, it supplements it. So it's also something that you as a print business can actively go out and sell to win new contracts, because now you've got a set of tools that you can show to that customer, literally send your sales reps out with their laptop, show them and say, if you deal with us, this is what you get. So we use the terminology online banking for printers, because before we had online banking, we all went down to the branch and we waited and we went up to the counter and did our business or met with the manager. Now we expect it on our phones, we expect it on our web browser, and this is what you're giving your customers.
Fantastic. Derek, just before I move on, I just like to welcome PrintX to the call. Somehow, guys, you've got a VIP seat on today's session on our panel, so welcome. And it's great to see somebody so excited to join. So thank you for joining us. So well done and welcome. Okay, so listen, guys, I'm going to jump in if I may. As a simple marketeer, how does Accura and Significans come together? And I'm going to open this to both of you. Like, why are we here today, and how do the pair of you work together?
I'm going to let Marc speak.
Oh, you want me to go first?
I want to hear what Marc's going to say.
Well, it's Trevor. That was a fantastic intro and a really good outlook to I think a very powerful outlook to what you have to offer to the marketplace. But today it's all about permeating cleansed data and freeing yourself of that data from being inhibitive on more automation in the business. We often tell our customers it's all about the data that will trigger more automation in your business. And so when we approached one another a few years ago, actually during the pandemic, we thought, hey, we've done at that time about 60 to 70 to 80 different integrations with varied business MIS and ERP systems. You approached us, this is kind of unique. We looked at what you had to offer and said, wow, there is, unlike some solutions out there, is bidirectional opportunity of data flow. That's number one. Two, you have an all-in-one solution, which we always like because modularity is key in this world. And having a CRM / web to print component is especially modern in any business today that it's seeking e-commerce. And then we looked at it from our perspective and said, how does this integrate and how does this interact with other solutions that we find in today's production environment or in pre-press environments, and said, wow, this is a very good solution to attach yourselves to. We've done numerous integrations with a number of your peers, Trevor, as you know. We're excited about what we've learned from Accura so far, and hence the reason why we'd offer this very special but interactive and educational discussion here today.
Thank you, Marc. That's a lovely intro and explanation as well. I think before we move on to the next segment, Trevor, is there anything else that you'd like to add? Was that a missing piece for you?
It's a bit of a no-brainer, really, because we're a small independent MIS company, one of the few remaining. As you know, the MIS world has changed over the last few years dramatically, with companies merging and buying each other out and so on. And as a small team, you've only got limited resources, and really you've got to focus on your strengths. And our strength is in business intelligence tools. So CRM, MIS, web to print, you can group it all under, an integrated business intelligence tool, because that tool would apply to any business, even if it wasn't a print company. If you were a factory making washing machines, it would still be good to have an online component. It would still be good to have an MIS component to control manufacturing. It would still be good to have a CRM component for your Salesforce and everything, and customer service. So the way we view it is that's where our skill set is. And because Accura is an out of the box solution, we don't bespoke it. We don't take on custom programming projects. That's not what we're about. And we just stay in our lane. But we can't be an island. We can't be isolated from everything else that's going on in the industry. So we got to build bridges. And what we saw in Significans was a shared values of, honesty, business integrity, not just fleecing the customer for a quick buck, but trying to form a relationship. And sometimes that means saying no. Sometimes that means, no, we can't do that. Fortunately, now I can say yes more often because of Marc's team. So, also what was attracted us to Significance specifically, why them and not any other in focus consultancy, is they've multi-skill set. So they don't just know in focus. They know HP Print OS, they know Agfa, they know Kodak, they know ESCO automation tools. So that gives us a bag of tools that we never had before. And now we can confidently have those conversations with our clients and prospective clients and say, the answer is yes, what's the question?
Marc, that's a great segue onto your section. Trevor's just, I think, laid out half of your slides there. Fantastic, really. I'll hand over to you, Marc. Tell us about, what you do in Significance automation.
Sorry.
And try and find something that Trevor hasn't covered.
As you can tell, this is not rehearsed in any way.
No, it's good.
It's
all
good. Great. It's all great. No, it's not rehearsed. No, that's Trevor. That's great, and I concur with a lot that you said. And having the opportunity to work with a very honest group like yours is very refreshing to us as well. And I'd like to go through a couple of my slides on an introductory basis, but then, of course, as Trevor has already announced some of the things that we do, I'll go quick so we can open up to a very interactive opportunity. So next slide, Chris, if you don't mind. So who are we? As I said in the beginning, we're a software integration company. And you might want to go to the next slide so that we can have the optics follow along. We have over 350 years of business experience in this space. All the guys that I hire come from shop floor, which is really, really key to our customers, that we speak the same language as them, we understand their problems, we solve their problems. We have the privilege of seeing 20 to 30 different businesses every quarter, which means that we have the insight and the experience to embrace and solve solutions for our customer base. Most recently, we've been tackling and embracing a lot more e-commerce initiatives, developing a lot more AI schemas into people's businesses. We've become known as a software developer just to fill in industry gaps that are quite apparent as well. And so moving on to the next slide, at a very summary standpoint, our go-to is we do business system integration, we do custom workflow automation builds with AI strategies so that we're future-proofing everything for tomorrow. And then finally, we provide software services. And in a few minutes, I'm going to bring in my esteemed VP of technology, Sean, who will be talking a little bit about our software and our high-end integration with the likes of Accura. And then on to my last slide here. Our reach pretty much is Canada, the US, and now Europe, as we have established an entity there as well. We love to hire local staffing, but everyone here today is virtual, so we accommodate multiple time zones across the Americas as well as Europe. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Marc. Thanks, gentlemen. So I'm just going to put up a couple of resources here. If you'd like to know more about Accura, obviously the guys have shared quite a bit already, but to see some of the real case studies and find out more, scan the QR code. We'll show this again later on in the session, but it's all about learning about those real ROIs, those real successes in business, and the best way to do that is read a customer case study. And in the same with Significance, there's a wealth of resources, tools, and things to download off of their website. Again, scan the QR code. and take a look at those. And I think the numbers will resonate with what you're trying to achieve. We'll put these back up towards the end. And if you'll watch this on the replay, just give it a pause. Okay, gents. So this is the big part of the session, really. This is where we're going to jump into the questions. Obviously, we've got some questions already been sent in. We thank the individuals for those. We've got Sean we're going to bring in a second as well. I'm going to ask anyone in the chat to start putting in their questions as well. We welcome, like I say, we welcome everything. It's a seminar, it's interactive. I'm going to start with Trevor, of course, our esteemed guest. Thanks again for joining us today, Trevor. When when we look at the MIS landscape, what problems did you set out to solve with Accura that existing platforms were not necessarily addressing, in your opinion?
Well, as I kind of touched on earlier, I think a lot of the MIS solutions on the market to this day are trying to be all things to all people. And inevitably, they end up being super complex, super difficult to set up, not easy to use, with massive implementation timescales. We're talking 6, 9, 12 month implementation timescales before the thing is fully set up. And for SMEs, because really that's what the majority of our client base has been today, that is where it all falls apart, because they don't have the in-house technical expertise to set these systems up themselves, battling against the software in the way it works, because it's got so many component elements that they have to jump through 5 hoops to do one what is effectively simple thing for them. And so you end up with these big enterprise level systems that are shoehorned into smaller companies, and inevitably it fails after a year or two, either because it's not set up right, it's too difficult to use, or they're just not getting the return on the investment because of the high ongoing costs. So they're getting charged by the hour for report writing and so on and so forth, because the system isn't flexible enough without having a computer science degree for you to actually do it yourself. So you've got to pay someone to come in. And the big boys love that, because they've got people on staff that's all they do for a living. They want to come in and sell professional services. In fact, they get targeted on it. They get commission on it. So they're coming in at $1,500 a day to write some report that user really, in all truth, should be able to do themselves. And really, so where we're coming in is we're trying to fill that gap by providing something that gives them a modular, scalable solution, but it's not rocket science to use it. It behaves and responds in a way they expect it to. And it's an out-of-the-box solution. So we're not going to sit there and bespoke and customize it, because we've done 37 years of that. So we've built a solution now that is flexible enough for people to tweak it to their needs themselves. And that's where the true power of software comes in. You shouldn't be battling against the system. It should be working for you. Okay.
Trevor, I think you've answered the next question, actually,
Right.
which is not a problem. You're on fire today, I have to say. I wish all of our panel were as efficient as you. I was going to ask, and this came in earlier on today, Accura is often described as the only open and independent MIS. What does that mean in practical terms to the print business owner making?
MIS systems have been sucked up under this umbrella of other companies. So as an independent, what we bring to the party is, who's training you. That trainer becomes your account manager and your first point of contact for non-technical issues, managers, whatever. And you don't speak to anyone that knows what they're talking about initially. You then have to get referred up the chain to various people, and 72 hours later you might get an intelligent answer to your question. With a smaller independent, you're speaking to the guy that knows and can fix your problem first time, there and then. And that's really where the difference comes in. As I was saying about the ever scale of these systems, they're getting more and more complex, and we're trying to split that out into modules so that you're not bombarded with things you don't need and you don't use.
Trevor, just before I go into the next question, I just want to ask our audience if there's any frustration from their end with their current software suppliers with terms of tickets, response times, and do they find that that's actually something that is quite a frustration? Please just pop it in the chat. You don't need to name anyone, but it'd be interesting to hear if that's something that's a bottleneck for you guys. How do you balance innovation with stability when customers rely on an MIS to run their entire business? The reason I'm asking both of you, because Marc, you work with many MIS systems and you bring many systems together, and you're the glue that holds a lot of together. I'd like your opinion as well. But Trevor, I think you should kick us off, really. How do you balance innovation with stability?
You want to keep developing your product and keeping pace with your competitors, keeping pace with the needs of the industry and technology and so on. But at the same time, you've got established clients who don't like change, and they've got to use the software in a certain way. And if you just move a button, they freak out because it's not where it used to be. Sometimes it's hard to introduce new features. The way we roll things out, we carefully manage how it's rolled out. So first of all, everything we do goes out with documentation. So we have release notes, we have how-to guides, and we have video launches with every new release. We have videos that show the new features so that people get used to it before they try it out for themselves. So we're kind of trying to keep the stability there by, forewarned is forearmed. Our software is out of the box, so it means that we can innovate and upgrade everybody at the same time. So if we were bespoking our product and we had 500 customers, we would have to do a separate individual upgrade customized for each of those customers. So in that way, we keep things stable, because by releasing one common version of the software, it's gone through a 2 to 3 month test QA phase. If it's a major feature, we will roll it out to beta testers first. So all of that means that by the time it lands for most of our customers, it's been thoroughly tested and so on. That's not to say that they don't still find bugs, but it's usually bugs that are caused by a way they're using the software that's triggered some weirdy beardy bug that we never really anticipated. And the fourth way we maintain stability with rollout is that for our Australian and North American customers, we do the upgrade during their night. So the actual time advantage the time difference gives us an advantage that we can actually upgrade their systems while they're not working. So they come in the next morning and there it is. So that keeps things moving and stable. Yeah, I hated that question.
Chris, that's such a broad question that I'm going to take a stab at it, of course. Yeah, but I'm going to ask Shanto to tag along on my answer, because he can give you some real world answers. When we're talking about innovation and basically your stability, that's really more from a software standpoint. From our perspective, we have the experience to suggest we know and seen what is working, what doesn't work, what's integratable and connectable, and what's not. Plus, we see very frequently that very well-established customers also have very well-established business systems and MIS systems. So often they come to us with a massive thirst to bolt on something new or something innovative. And that's where we come in, because we're always searching what is next, what is an opportunity for improvement, what's an opportunity for better efficiencies throughout production and pre-press, of course. So I agree with Trevor's suggestion that it is a very established environment, and that established environment makes a huge commitment towards their repository. And in this case, to an Accura business system, that becomes the central repository. Often I describe an MIS system as basically the heartbeat of the organization. And what we do and service the customer with is the massive amounts of opportunity, and that opportunity are the arteries coming out of that heartbeat that that Trevor and his team is building for the customer base. And those arteries are workflow, and those arteries are data flow, and those arteries are opportunities of automation that we need to build and suffice the appetite of our customers with. Now I'll push it off to Sean because he might have some real world stories to provide that might be a lot more apparent.
No pressure, Sean.
Yeah, I think I'll split the difference and sort of meet in the middle between both parties here. As one of the team members on Significans that has to do the implementation, the integration with these systems, there's a couple points I think we should highlight here. One is standardization. That's such a huge point when it comes to any sort of automation or integration with any MIS, ERP, CRM system. We need to make sure that whatever you're automating is fairly consistent. Everyone in their automation journey would like to automate everything. One talks about lights out automation. I don't want to touch it. I want to be able to have it go from point A to point B seamlessly. Realistically, though, that's not always possible. You're going to run into edge cases, especially when you're working with different file formats. So we always try to push our customers, work with PDF only. I understand you're going to have your Adobe Creative Suite of software. You're going to have your InDesigns, Illustrator, Photoshop. But if we can standardize good data coming in, for the most part, we can manipulate and massage a lot of that. But most importantly, we need to have some sort of standard. We always talk about an 80-20 rule or 70-30 rule where let's try and automate that 70% or 80% of the business. And that rest of that 20 or 30%, you're still going to have those edge cases. You're still going to have that custom work that comes in. Now, from Trevor's side with the MIS, he mentioned change management is very difficult. Same thing on our side when it comes to services. But what a lot of people don't realize when you talk about integration with MIS ERP systems is the term deprecation. Now, a lot of companies will over time change their APIs, change the structure of the data on how you integrate with said system. I've seen this with plenty of our customers, whether they're integrating with FedEx, UPS. We've had customers integrating with Monday.com. And they've inherently changed the APIs, and they do announce it, and they put it on their website, and Trevor has mentioned this too, with release notes. But when I talk about that term of standardization, we just need to make sure that regardless of whatever we do when we build an integration platform, we always talk about a champion. We always talk about someone who's aware of what's going on, who can maintain the systems that are created. So when we talk about innovation, things are constantly going to change, but we try to set up that champion within your business who can manage that change management, really.
Okay, Sean, I'm just gonna stop you there.
Okay,
Don't go anywhere because we're going to jump onto open APIs and ecosystem thinking in the moment.
That's what we do.
Trevor, we have a question from Rob who asks, what's your release schedule?
We actually have two teams on development, one on the core MIS, if you like, the back end, and the CRM, and one team on the web to print, for want of a better word. It's not web to print, it's a bit more than that. But we have a whole team just on that. So releases can happen at different times of those two elements. Generally for the core MIS, there's one major release per year, which would be a version number change, like 6.5 goes to version 7, and that would have major features in it. So things that are totally new. In between times, we have what we call builds, which are minor releases, and they are a combination of bug fixes that have been reported by users and also more tweaks and enhancements rather than wholly new features. So we might decide that we think the way we're doing this is a little bit too clunky, and we're going to streamline that a little bit. So that would be a minor release, whereas a major release would be, hey, we've got this new whiz bang thing, let's shout about it, sort of thing.
Trevor, thank you. That's a great answer. It's a lot more detail than I expected. Rob, I hope that helps your question. Sean, don't go anywhere. We're going to open up with open APIs. There we go. So I'm going to put this question out to the group, and please, gentlemen, in an orderly fashion, you can squabble over your perspective. But why is an open API no longer
Sean,
optional for a modern
from your
print
perspective.
business? And I think let's start with that. Who wants to go first?
Essential.
Sean, go ahead. Or Trevor, Sean or Trevor, yeah.
Gentlemen.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, yeah, really, it is essential in this day and age. I'll go a step further. I mentioned standardization earlier, but I see the legacy APIs utilizing XML slowly dying out and in favor of RESTful APIs, to Chris's point, open APIs that are more JSON driven. Just a different format, but you can't really say there's a standardized way of how an open API works. Every company, every programmer, the guy behind building that open API is going to do it their own way. But the key term we talk about with APIs is CRUD, C-R-U-D, which is create, read, update, and delete. Those are the core principles of what an API truly should do. And I'm sure, Trevor, you'll probably mention this, but Trevor and I had a conversation a while ago about Accura and about ways to bring forth new features when we talk about integration. And one of those being sort of a CRUD API that we can create, read, update, delete anything within the system. Because a lot of times when we're talking about integration, especially whether it's in Focus Switch, ESCO Automation Engine, or something equivalent to that, it's not as simple as let's have Accura drop an XML, it does something and read data back. There could be very niche workflows or scenarios where the customer wants to look up some sort of sales order or look up the material that's in the system based off very niche requirements. So having an API that can simply look up something without having to push data into a hot folder, get something back after, those are little things that really open up the world for us as integrators
we were
above
all
and
at
beyond for
Printing
our
United
customers.
back in all year, and we got talking over dinner.
Trevor, I think you have to
which I
jump
was
in
very
here
kindly
because
invited to
Sean
by
mentioned a conversation
Marc
you
there at
guys
the
have
bottom.
had, and you know.
Yes, he did. He did pay. Yeah, he suffered for it. Yeah. The way I look at this
Did he
is
pay, Trevor? Did he pay?
we've currently got a set of
Boy, did I ever.
APIs using XML, and we have an ODBC driver, and there's a lot that can be done with that in terms of file updates. But the more I learn about this, because I am learning about this, I have not got the vast experience of the projects that Significans have on dealing with customers and different scenarios and these custom integrations that they're so good at. So I went to Sean and I said, look, if we're going to develop some more APIs, I want to develop ones that are well structured and easy for you guys to use. Because why wouldn't I? Because it's a win-win for everyone. It's a win for the customer because he gets the outcome. It's a win for Significance because we make it easy for them to work with our MIS, and it's a win for us because we look good. So everybody wins. So Sean agreed to work closely with me on developing a new web API server where we can provide a lot more query tools for him, not just simple file IO, which is what everybody does. If he wants to grab an invoice, a copy of an invoice or a copy of a delivery or some tracking details on a delivery or details of the proof URL that we uploaded to our portal, I want to give him access to that because there are going to be scenarios where all of that is useful. And because we're small, we're agile. So we don't take 3 months to make a decision. We make a decision over a weekend and then we just do it. Yeah, I'm sure there are scenarios where Marc and his team are talking to a
Goes back to your point,
sales
Trevor.
guy
So
of an
interject. It
MIS
goes back to your
company,
point
and all
about the
he's thinking
independence
about
and
is getting
being
the sale of
the
his
global
MIS. That's all
feel,
he
sort of
really
global
cares
reach,
about.
but
And
family
you're
feel.
asking him questions like, could you do this with your
makes you
API?
more.
Could you do that? And he's going, well, I don't know, because you're not talking to the right guy at that stage. Whereas when you deal with us, Marc can pick up the phone to me and go, is it possible you could do this, this, and this and provide us this API? And I can go, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Trevor. Thank you very much. Trevor touched on earlier on the connectivity that Significans offers with multiple OEMs. And I think that's something that the InFocus App Store really stands for as well, doesn't it? Where we really can have an inclusive workflow with that kind of technology.
We're not asking our customers to invest in a hopium here. We're really asking them to make an investment in something that will be sticking around for the next 5-10 years easily. And I believe that the marketplace has some incredible software solutions from a workflow standpoint that will stand the test of time. There are some that are in decline, or they're going into obsolescence, or they're going out of business. Again, what our approach is, if you come and use our advice line, or you go through an assessment process, we'll find the best fit for your business, as if we were shopping it for ourselves here, as I've expressed before. And I think with integration of data and workflow, as per the title of the seminar here, really you can get into some phenomenal parabolic opportunities for the business today that will bring out incredible efficiencies. And I think that's why we're having conversations around this more. And it's not only us, it's a number of our peers, a number of our competitors, a number of our customers are having these discussions as well.
You're watching Automation and Integration, the series brought to you by Significance Automation. Okay, gentlemen, and I'm going to ask this question to all three of you now. Where have you deliberately chosen not to build functionality, and why is that restraint a strength rather than a weakness?
Time and
loaded question.
Sticking to what we know, really. So, we would rather, in the past, we would have said no. And if somebody asked us to build some kind of integration. And that's purely because when you're a small company, your reputation is everything. You're only as good as your last customer. And your customers are your biggest assets in terms of referrals towards your new prospective customers. So we've chosen not to build in a whole suite of integration tools and spend months and years developing those, because the risk of failure is too high and the cost of ownership is too high. If we do that, we take on supporting all of those products and developing them and upgrading them, enhancing them way into the future. And like Sean touched on, that third party that we've done an integration to, they might change their API overnight, not tell us, and suddenly 50 of our customers all phone up the next day going, my integration with HP has stopped working. And we're not geared up for that. That reflects very badly on us. And that's why we would rather get the experts in than try and do it ourselves and fail. It's a bit like a general builder, right? A general builder, you get him to build your house, but he will employ an electrician and a plumber, okay? Because those are skill sets that he doesn't have. He can oversee the project, he can build the house, he can do all the planning permission, he can make it insulated and all the rest of it, but he's got a Sparky and he's got a plumber. And effectively, Marc is my plumber. He doesn't look like a plumber, but he is my plumber. No. So, why would I do that myself? Because if I botch it up, it reflects badly back on me. But also when you choose your plumbers and your Sparkies, like Sean is a Sparky, you've got to have common values, because if those Sparkies mistreat your customers, it reflects badly on you. So that's why a true partnership is what's needed. It shouldn't be a battle. It should be a collaboration. Sorry.
Wow. I mean, I've heard some new naming conventions today on this call, people going by different names in the chat, and now we've got Mario and we've got Sparky Sean. Guys, I mean, let's keep this conversation going in terms of restraint. I think this is an important piece because both companies express the value of ROI and the discipline of delivering what the business needs. How does Significans use restraint within their processes?
Yeah, I would say personally, just to expand on what Trevor's saying there, AI is a common term being pushed out fairly regularly in a lot of our conversations, and a lot of our prospects are asking, hey, what are you doing with AI? How are you utilizing it, or can you build AI for us? And that's something we we tend to stay towards the tried and true methods that we know work very well. And quite frankly, we've had this conversation internally as well. To Trevor's point, you can't really build an AI that's generalized for all parties. If we started building bespoke software or automation tools that work just for that user or company, it's a lot of commitment to support it long term. And it's something as a small nimble company that we want to build something that we know is going to work for the next 5-10 years, not something that might just work for the next year, and then you'll have to continuously adjust it and make changes to it.
Yeah, it's interesting, John, about the AI point. I think you guys covered that off at Printing United within the AI Pavilion. And I think, the 3 takeaways I got from your session, Marc, were data and actually forgetting about the fluff and actually focusing on building a solution for what the business needs rather than looking at the trend. And I think we've had Davey on calls from InFocus before on AI related content, and he's made the point that the InFocus systems are using artificial intelligence and have been under the hood for some time. So what I love about the way you guys approach this is you bring it back down to earth, and you get people focusing on actually making money and improving the workflow. But I'm going to move on because we've got a ton more questions, and the time is marching on. I'm just also going to ask anyone in the chat if there's anything that they would like us to follow up on, anything they'd like to see in the future.
Okay,
please start popping in the chat now. So,
well, for us,
Trevor, if I may,
it would be the web integration.
What do customers typically see the fastest return on investment when moving to an open MIS model?
Particularly
Let's get
in
back
North
onto
America,
the core products.
web to print is becoming a replacement market. There are a lot of companies that have had a go with something, whether it was PageFlex, PageDNA, or other products that were early products in the market. In the UK, less so, but definitely in North America, everyone's had a go, and a lot of people have failed or dropped it because of lack of integration, because they were sold the dream of this beautiful storefront, catalog of products, add to basket, customer chooses a load of things from drop list, check out, pay, off you go. And there was nothing behind that. So it made a fantastic experience for the customer, but a real ball ache for the printer, because he's then got to double enter and manage all those incoming files, whether it is a CSV, an email, an XML file, attachments, whatever. He's got to manually juggle all of that and get that somehow into his MIS. So all the benefit for the printer has gone out the window, because he's had to do so many touches just to get the order into the system that he's losing money straight away. So for us, it has been the ease of smooth automation where the data flows directly from our web portal directly into the MIS, single click, and you're off to the races. And then all of the back and forth, because like I said earlier, that's just the beginning of the customer's journey. He's given you his order. He doesn't just sit back and not worry about it. He wants to know what's going on. And that's where we provide the back and forth integration.
Yeah, Marc makes a great point there, asking for people to share any experience through disappointment. Thank you, Trevor, for that. Marc, I'm going to come to you if I may. How does having a trusted integration expertise change the customer's conversation from can this be done to how fast can we do it?
Yeah, well, very, very, very frequently we become the extension of the company that is seeking the service. In fact, many times people say, you know what, it's great because I'm going to engage you for a couple of months or a couple of weeks or a couple of days, and you don't have to become an employee. That's number one. Two, you don't have to understand the culture. We're not there to understand the culture. So everything we do, again, is virtually. And everything we do comes from the fact that we have immense shop floor experience to accomplish the task at hand of the project. So I would say the experience comes from the fact that we're speaking to real printers day in and day out. They often, I would say, even though we have 3 people in sales here at Significance, 90% of our sales are coming through word of mouth, which means that our reputation is preceding us. But more importantly, we are the doers and will commit to doing what the task has been appointed to do or commissioned to do. Sean and the team are often creating the magic for the printer or the packaging company that others have tried maybe. And when Sean and the team get very creative, oh my goodness, the innovation goes to a very, very high level in those said companies. So yeah, we're very, very proud to do the job. It's almost like we become the artist that is hands-on with deploying the automation capabilities.
Okay, that's fantastic. And the agnostic approach crept in there again as well, which was great.
It always has to.
Yeah, no, I love that. And again, that's the
Keep doing
mantra,
that
isn't it,
for
of
these
the InFocus
questions.
products
Yeah,
as
let me
well.
go first.
So let's look forward. What does success look like for customers as a result of this partnership over the next 12 to 24 months? Expansive question again, I know, but I'd love to get your thoughts on that.
Let me go first. Yeah, because I didn't create those questions either, Trevor. Unlike a typical, ladies and gentlemen, there are typical installations that we see out there of MIS systems, not with Accura, but other MIS systems where the investment becomes greater by time. Let me explain. When they're doing the transaction towards an MIS system, typically we're suggesting that with such a big data deployment, it could take up to 24 months. We've had the experience where it's taken up to 36 months for a deployment, and the automation schema for added phases is just waiting in the wings, unfortunately. With Accura, we've seen and heard from many other customers to say, yeah, it's deployed in weeks and months. From our standpoint, when we're bringing a piece of software into the prospective customer base, we're suggesting an ROI in 30 days. And that's really, really important, that there needs to be an ROI on the purchase of the software in 30 days so that one, the adoption of that software becomes fully integrated into the culture and obviously the environment. But number two, it becomes a true ROI that's measurable. And we have numerous customers that have gone on the venture with us and said, wow, thanks for that experience. We're getting XYZ more efficiency out of that software today. So again, when we
Well,
write
for
up
us,
a
the relationship
scheduled
is a game
deployment,
changer,
for us, it's
to
really
be honest,
important to create
because
that ROI off that software purchase.
gives
Fantastic.
And again,
kind of
I'll leave
expands
Trevor
our team
to answer
because
the
we're not
rest of the
working with
question
anybody,
if you'd
and
like.
we just want to build on what we've got and then enhance the ties with between the two companies. Obviously, all these automation things are huge opportunities for our customers to get a return on investment. What I liked when I saw Marc talk about his product, we have client forums which we run every 2 years, and he very kindly attended one of our client forums and presented to some of our customers there. And one of the things that really struck out to me was the kind of assessment phase that Marc does, because believe it or not, I believe that there are a lot of SMEs that don't know what they want. They don't know where to automate. So we can't assume that they're coming to us and saying, hey, I've identified this bottleneck in this or that or the other. I liked the way that Marc said they go in and do a no obligation assessment of the current state, highlight the areas for improvement, and then map out a phased project. So they don't have to do it all at once. They can do phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 and see the ROI straight away. So that's the thing that stood out for me, and that's the thing I will try and convey to my customers.
Fantastic. And I think Alan Dixon makes the comment, ignorance is bliss. I think, Alan, that's exactly why the assessment is so important to that
Well,
achieved
you'll be able to see
later on in
Accura
the
in the
project.
UK
Gentlemen, I'm
at
going to ask you one last question, if I
the print
may.
show
Where can we see
in
you in
September, and
2026?
also at
Will you
Printing
guys be
United
collaborating at all?
in Las Vegas this year, back there again.
Trevor, you want to go first?
Yeah, so we're hoping for a good show. I love the shows. I love to be on the floor at the shows, and the reason I love it so much is because it's the only chance you get to test your product, your offering against what the market is asking for. Okay, because I can sit in my ivory tower and I can think I know everything that everybody wants, but only when I stand on that exhibition stand for 3 days and my back is aching and my feet are falling off do I actually go, right, so this year everyone's asking for this, and so on. And it does steer development. We will be holding a client forum, and I'm hoping Mark and his team are going to be there. And I'm hoping that we can demo something sort of real world. No pressure. No pressure, Mark.
Fantastic. Mark?
I'm going to give you the virtual handshake on that one, Trevor. We'll be there. Thank you. We'll be there.
You heard it here first.
And we're definitely going to be at Pretty United as well. So we look forward to that opportunity. We've made a big commitment to be there last year, and we'd like to do a repeat. I think that's a wonderful show. But from our perspective, we also like the grassroots capabilities of going out to see customers in person, getting to know their business. Having that personal touch is key for us. And then, of course, learning about their business, their quests, their long-term goals, what are their visions. Our customers come to us and say, hey, we're trying to create legacy. We're trying to create opportunity on buying new customers. Today, we have a customer that contacted us yesterday. He said he just bought 2 new companies, and he needs our integration capability through the acquisition process. So we're delighted to be a tech partner in that regards. And then finally, where else you'll see us is at these smaller summits, the wide format summit, the PIA conferences. We love talking to people that have a desire.
Fantastic. Real conversation with real people. I'm going to wrap it up there. I'm just going to remind everyone that you can get more information on Accura. You can get the latest case studies by scanning the QR code on screen. And if you'd like more information on Significans automation, here's their QR code, and this will take you to their resource page. Plenty of downloads. I would just say,
it
leads me to say thank you.
Reach out and ask.
It leads me also to say from Trevor, our esteemed guest, from the electrician and the plumber, do you have any closing words you'd like to give us before we finish the session?
Second that.
Excellent. Well, thank you all. The replay will be out shortly. Thank you very much to the guys that came in late. We're sorry we had to add you into the VIP seat, but at least we got you in. And thank you to everyone else who's contributed on today's session. And we'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.